All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to unpack the absolutely wild story of Hugging Face, a company that basically stumbled its way to the very heart of the AI revolution.
So it all kicks off with this friendly little emoji. I mean, it looks pretty simple, right? But get this. This logo represents a company that, as of its last funding round, has a staggering valuation of $4.5 billion. And that brings us to the big question for this whole explainer. How on earth did a company that started out making a chatbot for teenagers become the absolute center of the AI universe, the essential, unavoidable hub for the entire machine learning community? Yeah, it's quite a story.
All right, so let's start at the beginning. Section 1, the accidental AI empire. And we have to start here because back in 2016, the whole plan wasn't about building the fundamental infrastructure for AI. No. It was about something way simpler.
So, the original idea from founders Clément Delong, Julien Chaumond, and Thomas Wolfe was an app, an AI-powered chatbot. The whole goal was to create this sort of digital friend for teenagers, something fun to talk to, and they decided to tackle what they thought was the hardest problem out there, open domain conversation. You know, basically creating a bot that could talk about anything and not just follow a rigid script. And you know, the app had some success. At its peak, it was getting around 100,000 daily active users. But the team started noticing these warning signs, something really kind of frustrating. They'd make these huge technical leaps, making the AI way smarter, but it didn't really move the needle on user growth. People weren't sticking around more. And this led to this absolutely critical insight. Maybe the chatbot app wasn't the real product. Maybe the true value was in the incredible tools they had built behind the scenes to create it.
Okay, so that brings us to our second section, the pivot to open source. Because leaning into that insight, the team made a decision that would completely change everything, not just for their company, but you could argue for the future of AI development itself.
And this is the watershed moment. Look at how fast this happened in 2018. In October, Google releases its groundbreaking but really complex language model called BERT. Just 1 week later, the Hugging Face team open sources a simplified version, but on a different, more popular framework called PyTorch. They just gave it away. And the result? The entire machine learning community just went wild for it.
And this quote from the CEO Clément Delong really just captures the spirit of that moment. He says, "We released open source versions simply as a benefit to the community without thinking about it too much." See? It wasn't some grand strategic business plan. They were just sharing what they'd built, and the community's insane reaction told them they had stumbled onto something really, really big.
And this brings us to Section 3, the GitHub of AI. Because this is the moment everything changed. Hugging Face stopped being a chatbot company, and it started becoming the essential platform for machine learning.
And the scale today is just absolutely breathtaking. We're talking more than 2 million models hosted on the Hugging Face Hub. It's become the default place, the town square, for researchers and developers to share all their work.
And this chart just perfectly shows the insane growth acceleration. So to get to the first million models, it took them over 1,000 days. But to get the second million, only 335 days. The pace is just picking up like crazy.
So what are the key parts of this whole ecosystem? Well, first, you've got the Model Hub. This is the core of the whole platform. It's the central place where researchers and developers can share, discover, and collaborate on all these pre-trained AI models.
Then you've got the Transformers library. And honestly, this was their real breakthrough product. It's an open source library that makes state-of-the-art models, like BERT, super easy to use. We're talking just a few lines of code. It's a total game changer.
And finally, there's Spaces. This is a platform for hosting and sharing live interactive machine learning demos. So you're not just looking at a model, you're actually playing with a live app. It just makes AI so much more accessible to everyone.
All right, Section 4, the open source philosophy. So how does all this openness become a business advantage? How do you make money from this?
Well, it really comes down to these two different approaches to AI. On one hand, you have the proprietary kind of walled garden approach from the big AI labs. It's closed, it's opaque. On the other hand, you have Hugging Face's approach, which is all about being open and transparent. Models are shared with the community, they have model cards that detail all the biases and limitations, and they're super easy to customize for your own specific needs.
And this quote from Pat Grady at Sequoia Capital just hits the nail on the head. He said they prioritized adoption over monetization. They saw a chance to be the GitHub not just for NLP, but for every domain of machine learning. And he thinks that was absolutely the correct move. They focused on being essential first.
So here's how they actually make money with their freemium business model. It's what's called an open core model. See that big slice? That's the free community use. That's the foundation. It creates this massive network effect. Then, they make money from enterprise subscriptions, a usage-based inference API, and pro accounts for folks who need more power.
And you can see the results of that strategy right here in their funding history. It's a story of just exponential growth. Look at this. May 2018, a $4 million seed round. Fast forward to April 2022, a $100 million round at a $2 billion valuation. Then, August 2023, a $235 million round that valued them at $4.5 billion. That is the market screaming that their bet on openness paid off.
So that brings us to our final section, shaping AI's future. And really, what it comes down to is that Hugging Face has become the unavoidable backbone of the entire AI world. They're the quiet giant that enables almost everyone else.
And here's the key takeaway, the most important thing to understand. They win by owning the workflow, not by trying to build the single best model. Their entire strategy is about being the essential platform. They're the place where all the models live, where developers do their work, and where the community comes together to collaborate. They built the infrastructure that everyone else now depends on.
So that leaves us with a really fascinating question to chew on. As AI becomes more and more powerful, who's ultimately going to shape its future? Is it going to be the closed labs with the biggest, most powerful models? Or is it going to be the open platforms like Hugging Face that empower everyone to build? That's the big question right now.